If you struggle to eat out alone, or maybe you want to eat out alone but are too afraid and have all these thoughts going through your head about all the reasons why you shouldn't be eating out alone because you're going to look stupid, people are going to make fun of you, you're going to be awkward, and maybe you just think that it's not something that you're capable of doing, I am going to end all your fears right here, right now in this video. We're going to talk all things eating out alone. I am the queen of dining out alone, let me tell you. And ever since I got over my fear of eating out alone, which now, geez, is probably 10 years ago, my life has completely changed. You might be thinking that there's no way you could eat out alone, or maybe you're in the stages of thinking you want to be dining out alone simply because your friends aren't always available and there's a bunch of restaurants that you want to try. I know I am a total foodie and I would go insane if I didn't have the courage to eat out alone because my friends aren't always available. Not only that, they don't have the same tastes as me, and sometimes they don't want to be spending the same amount of money that I do on certain types of food. I am totally a food connoisseur. Whether you're a food connoisseur, a foodie, or you're just bored at home and are sick of having to wait on your friends to go eat out, this video is for you because it's going to help you gain the clarity, confidence, and understanding as to why it's not weird at all to eat out alone. I first want to start out with some words of wisdom and things that really have helped me to get over my fear of eating out alone. I know in the past when I had been in a really bad relationship, I can remember being at a restaurant with my partner and trying to hide tears from streaming down my face so the waiter and other people wouldn't see me crying because this guy was so verbally abusive. Yes, that was me in a past life. But something that really helps me to get over my fear of eating alone, because it will creep in. Even though I've been eating alone for 10 plus years now, sometimes it still creeps in. But when I'm feeling that way, when I'm out and I'm by myself, I just remind myself how at peace I am in my own company and how much better it is to be alone in that moment than to be with that abusive partner or with someone that isn't meant for me, having to hide my tears or having to feel sad or feel alone with that partner at the table. Maybe some of you are in relationships where your partner doesn't even talk to you. Your partner's on their phone the whole time you guys are at dinner. So what's even the point, you think? I'm going to go through specific tips that you need to know if you're going to be dining out alone. Number one, you always want to sit at the bar. Yes, you can sit at a table, but I'm going to go through some perks as to why you want to sit at the bar if you're eating out alone, why it's way better. Now, when it came to my mind to make this video, I was actually sitting at a bar eating dinner alone and I was making notes on my phone. And just as I finished up making the last note for this video, the bartender comes over and presents me with the dessert I had ordered, and he let me know that dessert was on him. Now, this bartender wasn't flirtatious with me. He was super respectful, but things like that tend to happen when you eat alone, especially if you are a female. Bartenders will really treat you very well. And if you're in a group of girls sitting at the bar, this doesn't tend to happen as much. I know because I compare it to eating out alone frequently and also eating with other girls at the bar frequently. I get treated a million times better when I'm sitting alone at the bar having dinner than when I'm with other girls. I think it just has to do with the one-on-one connection that you can kind of have with the bartender. They tend to spend a lot more time describing the menu to you. They may give you some tips as to things to order or not to order. It kind of builds a community almost at the bar. Thinking back to all of the solo dinners that I have had sitting at the bar, I have gotten so many comp dinners, so many paid for checks, so many secret menu items that aren't even on the menu brought to me. Chefs will come out and introduce themselves to me. So there are just so many perks once you get in the groove of dining out alone. And I will say a key to getting treated really well when you go out and dine at the bar is being very interested in the menu, being interested in the environment, asking questions to the bartender, just acting like you are really engaged with the whole dining experience. That will be the tip to the bartender, to the chef or whoever is there, that you're really interested and you want to know more. And people that are in the hospitality industry, they are there because they like to make people feel comfortable. They like to make people feel welcome. So if you're there by yourself, expect to get treated really well. There are a few pointers that I have before you just go out the door and just randomly pick a place to sit at the bar. What I want you to do, especially if it's your first time eating out alone, I want you to go on Yelp. They have an app, or you can go on yelp.com, and I want you to look up restaurants in your area. Now, I want you to narrow down the restaurants in your area by cuisine that you want to eat, but I also want you to narrow it down by the way the interior of the restaurant looks. Typically, if you want to feel more comfortable in the restaurant when you're alone, you want to see that the bar has enough seats. If there's only like 5 seats at the bar, this can sometimes feel awkward in two different ways. One, if there's only 5 seats, you may walk into this restaurant and then there's no seats available for you, and then you're going to kind of feel weird. I will talk to you about how to navigate no seats at the bar issue later, but that's one problem with only 5 seats at the bar. The other problem with only having 5 seats at the bar is if you're the only one sitting there, it kind of just feels more awkward. I would try to look for a restaurant that has a larger bar. The second thing I want you to look at when you're looking at Yelp, in the photos of the interior, it's under vibe. You can look at the lighting. Look at how big the restaurant is. Just kind of get an idea if it's somewhere that you would feel comfortable walking into and sitting into alone. I know sometimes when places are like really bright or like really big, it doesn't necessarily feel like in that moment I want to go in there alone, and that's okay. Look at the pictures of the interior of the restaurant and see what you're comfortable with. I know I will go to sushi restaurants alone, but I would, as a rule of thumb, recommend not doing that if you're going to order rolls. The reason being, it's really hard to eat that whole piece of sushi. You put it in your mouth and then you're chewing for like 20 minutes. And I know from dining alone that when you're chewing for like what seems like forever, it just feels really awkward to be chewing on that big piece of sushi. So go to a sushi restaurant, but I would not recommend ordering a big roll just because it feels awkward to chew. Get like sashimi or like little bites, things like that, things that are easier to eat that maybe don't feel so awkward when you're in the process of eating them, especially if you're alone and someone wants to start a conversation with you and you've just bit this huge piece of sushi and you have to like chew before you can respond. That's just a really good tip. Some general rules of thumb to remember when you're going to be dining out alone is that no one is looking at you. I know when you're sitting up there at the bar, especially sometimes a bar is more elevated than the tables that are surrounding it, it can kind of feel like you're sticking out. But remember, everyone is literally focused on themselves. No one thinks about anyone but themselves. People aren't like pointing and laughing at you that you're there alone. Not to mention, there are a million reasons why you could be dining alone. You could be waiting on a friend. You could be traveling for work and not know anyone in the city. Or you could actually be a stand-up person who has high self-esteem and feels that they're worthy of taking themselves out on a dinner date alone and doesn't need to wait on their friends or a date or anybody else to be able to feed themselves. The second thing I want you to remember is it's time to have a treat yourself mentality. Why do we need to wait on someone else to nourish our bodies at the most primal, basic level? If you're craving a steak, if you're craving sushi, if you want some buttery pasta, heck, if you just don't feel like cooking, sometimes the best form of self-care can be to bring yourself to a place where another human being prepares a nourishing meal for you. Sometimes that can be the love that you need, especially when you've been single for a while and you're always cooking for yourself. You have to do your own grocery shopping. You have to do your own cleaning at the house. You're doing all of this taking care of yourself. Sometimes it can be really feeling good to just go somewhere and have someone put a plate of food in front of you, to be able to have a conversation with the bartender, to have them make a special cocktail for you. It's a form of self-care in that way, of basically putting yourself in the hands of someone else to pamper you a little bit, pamper you through your taste buds. What can be better? The next thing I want you to keep in mind, and this is so crucial when you go out, because if you don't have the right mindset when you're dining alone, it defeats the whole purpose. It becomes a waste of money. You just hemmed and hawed in your head with negative thoughts, with anxious thoughts throughout the whole dinner, and the whole thing is just pointless, right? The whole point of this is to enjoy yourself, to have a great time, to indulge in some luxurious food. Commit to yourself that you are not going to allow any negative thoughts into your head during this hour or so time that you're dining solo. Don't allow yourself to think, who's looking at me? Don't allow yourself to say, I feel stupid. Don't allow yourself to go down the rabbit hole of why am I still single? That defeats the purpose. All you need to do is for that 1 hour or whatever amount of time you're sitting at the bar is think positive thoughts. If that means pulling up your vision board on your phone while you're sitting at the bar or imagining some positive place that you are in your head, I only want you to think positive thoughts. It seems like a really simple, maybe even silly thing to do. But if you're thinking negative thoughts, number one, you're going to be radiating that negative aura and you're not going to get anything for free that way. And also, anybody that might see you won't want to come up to you because you're in a negative state. You have that maybe negative expression on your face and people can just feel that. You want to have a positive aura about you and then you will magnetize all the good things to you. And when you're sad in your apartment, maybe watching this video thinking, it would just be so much easier if I had a date. If I had a date, then I wouldn't have to hem and haw and worry about eating out alone. Well, remember this. No one, including Chad, is going to be able to find you if you're sitting in your apartment every single night alone. Yes, the dating apps are great, but I highly recommend you diversify your ability to find people, and this is dining out. So get out of your apartment, get off your couch, and go indulge in a nice meal, and maybe you will meet someone special. This last part is some more technical tips about how actually to be when you are at this bar or restaurant when you're dining alone. You want to have like a relaxed expression. Remember that we don't always have an awareness about how our facial features look, especially if this is your first time eating out alone. You may be really tense and it may show up on your face. So just have like a pleasant expression. Be really mindful of that pleasant expression that you have on your face. Make sure you don't have like this worried look. Also, when you're at the bar and having dinner, don't be looking around the room. This makes you look like you're anxious. It makes you look like you don't belong. It makes you look like you're worried about something. So you really want to try to keep your gaze pretty much in front of you. Maybe you can look at some of the alcohol bottles that are on the wall in front of you, but I really wouldn't be like looking over your shoulder, darting your eyes around. You kind of want to stay focused in your space at the bar. No fidgeting, no picking at your nails, no playing with your hair. Don't be shaking your leg. Try not to continue to adjust yourself in your seat too much. Any of these movements make you look awkward. They make you look out of place. It makes you look like you're uncomfortable. And also, those movements are going to facilitate further feelings of feeling like you're awkward, of feeling like you're anxious, of feeling like you're uncomfortable. When you're in there, maybe you're feeling a little bit nervous. I can remember the first few times I ate out alone, I can remember being like visibly shaking and have to like keep my hands on my lap because I didn't want the bartender to see that I was shaking. I was really nervous, but that just goes to show you the way I am now, many years later. I go out to eat and don't even think twice about it. So if I can go from visibly shaking eating out and not thinking twice about it and loving it and having a really good time, I know you can too. Another tip, and this probably is from my therapist brain, we have a nerve that goes down our body and ends basically in our butt area called the vagus nerve. That nerve runs all the way up and down our body. When you're nervous and when you're tense, we clench our buttocks area and that clenches that nerve and that creates tension throughout our whole body. So when you're trying to relax, whether it being solo dining or whether it be in any situation, remind yourself to let go of your seat muscle, for lack of a better term. That's going to relax that vagus nerve and help to relax the rest of your body. The first time you go out alone, you might feel awkward. You might feel like everyone is staring at you. You might be shaking. I know when I was in a long-term relationship and I had been used to going out to eat with him all the time for months and months and months. And then once I broke up with this person, and then I started going and eating out alone again, and it felt kind of awkward in the beginning. So practice makes perfect. You will get better at it. It will get easier. But I do just want to say, Above all else, remember this literal one phrase and write it down if you have to. I belong to be here just as much as anyone else. No one is looking at me. Everyone is completely focused on themselves. That's all I have for now. I really hope that this was helpful and then this can inspire you to go ahead and eat out on your own. There is a whole world out there of restaurants for you to explore. Let me know in the comments if you tried to eat out alone. Let me know if you have any other tips. You can put them in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe and like this video. I'll be coming out with more. Bye for now.